Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Tomorrow is your exam, right? We'll just wait for another 1 minute and then start. You can hear me? Mavish, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. We'll just wait for another 20-30 seconds and then start. Okay, let's get started. So we will quickly do a revision for the moving charges and magnetism. Okay, this is a chapter which is actually packed with a lot of information. Okay, so let's very quickly revise what is in the chapter and do a few questions. Okay, so essentially while it is a fairly long chapter, इसमें दो मेन कॉन्सेप्ट कवर्ड है इस चैप्टर में. ठीक है, एक तो है मैग्नेटिक फील्ड मूविंग चार्जेस से कैसे जनरेट होती है, और दूसरा ये है कि अगर मूविंग चार्जेस हैं तो उस पर मैग्नेटिक फोर्स क्या, मैग्नेटिक फील्ड क्या फोर्स लगाती है. ठीक है, तो ये दो इसमें मेन कॉन्सेप्ट है. मैग्नेटिक फील्ड जनरेशन के हमारे पास दो मेन लॉज हैं. बायोट सेवर्ट लॉ है. ठीक है, आई विल नॉट स्पीक दिस आउट, यू नो द लॉ, राइट. इम्पॉर्टेंट थिंग टू नोट हेयर इज कि जबकि लॉ में नीचे आर क्यूब दिखाई दे रहा है डिस्टेंस का, राइट, इट स्टिल वेरीज बाय आर square, like the Coulomb's law, and the reason is that there is a r at the numerator also, so it still varies by r squared like most of the other fields and forces. Okay, and the Ampere circuital law is very similar to the Gauss's law. Okay, and it is state, but the way it is calculated is slightly different, because in this we take a boundary and the surface we choose is arbitrary. Okay, so this is a surface integral again of b dot dl along a boundary, and this is equal to the net current into the permeability. Okay, and the force is given by the Lorentz force, which is the sum of both the forces, the electrical as well as the magnetic force. So you can see that the magnetic force is a cross product, which means that it is orthogonal. V and B have to be orthogonal, and if they are not, then we only consider the orthogonal component, and then the resultant force is orthogonal to both of them. Okay, and to find the direction we can use the either the right hand screw rule, okay, in which we curl our fingers from V to B to get the direction of the force. Okay, another way to do it is also to use the Fleming's left hand. Okay, so both the ways can be used to find the direction of this force. Okay, now based on these three fundamental rules that we study in this chapter, there are multiple applications of this in different cases. Okay, so one is the force on a wire carrying current I of the length L that we will consider, right, and perpendicular to the field B. Okay, The force in this case is given by I, okay, and then the cross product of the length vector and the B vector, okay. So this comes straight from the uh, the Lorentz force, okay. And motion of a charge in a uniform um, magnetic field is a circular path that you have to remember, and the radius is given by mv by qt. Okay, so this is an important relation to remember, and the fact that it is a circular path. We should also remember that if there is a component of v which is actually parallel to b, that generates no force, so it creates a helical path. Okay, so the use of this, essentially there are two uses of this concept in the book, but for this session we will only cover one, which is the velocity selector, which selects any particle irrespective of mass or charge where the velocity is equal to E by B. Okay, so this is an important relationship to remember for velocity selector, a very simple relationship. Okay, then we have to also remember the relationship of a field at the center of a current carrying loop. Okay, this same thing we will also do using the magnetic moment. Okay, so both the forms can be remembered. Magnetic moment form is a simplified form, we will see that also. Okay, and at the center is a special case where we put x is equal to 0. Now, using what we have done here, right, there are, the expressions for B, which will be more used, right? This is a very simple expression when it comes to solenoid, which is mu naught n into I. Remember one thing when using this formula, and the thing to remember is that this small n is number of turns per unit length, not the total number of turns. Okay, so the strength of the field does not depend on the length of the solenoid, but on the density of the solenoid. Okay, now next, force between two parallel conductors, okay, is mu naught I1 I2 by 2 pi d. So this into L, which is the segment of length we are considering for finding the force, right? So longer this length, more is the force. So this is also something that you should remember as a relationship, can be used in numericals. Okay, and then the other thing to remember, like the force on a straight conductor, is the torque, right? This is also the thing which is used in case of electric motor or also in the galvanometer, okay? Which is I, area of the loop, into B, and the inclination of this loop to the field, the sign of that angle. Okay, so this relationship of torque is also to be remembered. Other than this, there is another concept explained, which is a concept of magnetic dipole. Okay, it is analogous to the electric dipole. Okay, although it's generated because of a very different phenomenon, but it is analogous to that, and it is given by m is equal to IA, where I is the loop in the conductor and area of the loop. Okay, and the beautiful thing is that this is true even if this loop is not circular. Okay, so this becomes a very powerful relationship to use when the loop is not circular. We can calculate m, and then we can find the axial field using a very simple relationship, mu naught by 4 pi, which is the standard constant, 10 raised to power minus 7. And it is the magnetic dipole moment by x cube, which is very similar to the electric dipole moment expression. So it's easier to remember also. And it can be used when the loop is not circular. Okay. And then there is a small note on the um, on the dipole moment of an electron, okay, which is equal to EVR by 2. R is the radius of its revolution, okay, and V is the velocity of its revolution. This is only true, this expression is only true for the hydrogen atom, okay, and I don't think they will ask you for other atoms for now. So this is an expression to look at. And another thing to look at is the gyromagnetic ratio. Okay, gyromagnetic ratio of an electron revolving in a hydrogen atom is given by its magnetic moment by its angular momentum, which comes out to be E by 2m. Okay, which is independent of the radius. Okay, so what it means is that this is constant in whichever excited state the electron is in. Okay. So let's do a few questions based on this information, and that will help you remember a few of these concepts. Okay. Two charged particles traverse identical helical paths in a completely opposite sense in magnetic field B is equal to B naught K. Okay, so what does this mean? Can somebody tell me what is what information does it give us about the magnetic field? Anybody can tell me this? This is a common way to express something. What is this K cap? What is this K cap? Anybody?
For direction, na?
What direction is this?
Z-axis.
Z-axis, yes. So this is a common way to express the direction of the field. And since it's not time varying, it is just B naught, okay? So the helical paths are completely opposite. What does it mean completely opposite means? If one is rotating clockwise, the other one is rotating anti-clockwise. If one is going in the plus Z direction, the other one is going in the negative Z direction. Okay, so they are completely negative in the translation, also in the sense of rotation also. So what does which of the following are true in this? Okay, when will it be true? Okay, so the first one is if they have the equal Z components of momentum. Can that be true? See, this cannot be true. Why? Because if they had the same component of momentum in the Z direction, then they will not be exactly identical. Completely opposite sense won't be true. It would be true in the same sense, right? So, isliye this is definitely not true. They must have equal charges. Okay. Now, they could have had equal charges, but must is definitely not true, right? The must is definitely not true here, okay, because there are many other variables which can be controlled to get this, okay. They necessarily represent a particle antiparticle pair, definitely not, okay. So what does it mean? Okay, so can the last one be true? How will we find this? How will we find this? Anybody? See, the radius should be same. What do we know? The radius should be same, and the radius is given by mv by qb, right? Now b is a constant, we know, right? The thing is that the horizontal component, the component parallel to B should of V should also be a constant, right? But in a opposite direction. Okay, so what can we say now? We know that for this R to be same, the vertical component to this should be constant to get the same R, okay, and so should be the horizontal component, but in the opposite direction, okay. So what do we get? We get that this is the radius of one, then the radius of the other one would be right, and the quantities of the two have to be the same, and these radius are same, so we can say m v by qb is equal to m minus, right? So I should, okay, and the magnitude of v needs to be the same, okay. So we can say m1 by q1 is equal to minus m2 by q, okay, which implies q1 by m1 is equal to q2 by m2, okay. So which implies d is true, okay. So this is true, okay. So this is the charge to mass ratio is true, okay. Biot-Savart law indicates that the moving electrons produce a magnetic field B such that, what does Biot-Savart say? Should B be perpendicular to V?
Third option.
Third option. Okay. Third option is this. Okay. So what did I tell you in Biot-Savart law, right? This is actually what can be confusing at times, right? The Biot-Savart law seems to show, right, a cube relationship. So what does the Biot-Savart law say? That dB is equal to mu naught by 4 pi I dl cross r by r cube. Okay, but there is a r in the numerator also. So the relationship is inverse square, not inverse cube. Okay, so this is not true. See, we know that IDL, right, can be actually written as what? Okay, I is charge by time into dl, right, and charge by delta t, right, and so it can be written as delta q delta v, right, dl by dv is v. So this expression can become qv, right, and which is perpendicular to r, and a cross product result is also perpendicular to individual components, right? So this is definitely true. This definitely will give a zero result. This is false. Okay. It is along the line joining the electron and the point of observation. No, that is not true. Okay. It has nothing to do with the point of observation anyways, right? So this is not true. Where the field is being measured is, okay, if that is what it means, even then it is perpendicular to that, not to the point, right? Not in the same direction. So the answer is A. A is the answer. Got it? Any doubts on this?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, a current carrying circular loop of radius r is placed in xy plane with center at the origin. Half of the loop with x greater than 0 is now bent so that it now lies in xy plane. Okay, so yz plane. So we have this, right, and there was a loop which was like this. Okay, which was in this x, y, z. Okay, so it was like this. It was in this plane of the paper. Okay, now what has been done? The loop has been bent with x greater than 0. So from here, it has been bent to align with this. Okay, so it is now yz plane. And there is anyway a component which is here, okay, which is lying on the paper. So you can fold your paper and see how it looks like now. So the magnitude of magnetic moment now diminishes. Okay, so what happens to the magnitude of magnetic moment is the question, right? So let's just try to understand this. Magnetic moment is is perpendicular to the plane of the loop. So if there is a loop like this, okay, then the magnetic moment is like this, okay, which is given by the right hand rule. So the current is going like this and the magnetic moment is like this, okay, which is I. Okay. Now what has happened is we have one magnetic moment along Z, right? So let's say the initial magnetic moment was M. Now half of it, because area has been made half. So half of the magnetic moment is along the Z direction, okay? So M by 2 is along Z, okay, direction, as it was in the beginning. But what happens to this newly created magnetic moment? It is along X direction, M by 2 is along the X direction. X and Y, Z are perpendicular to each other. So this is how our vectors look like. This is M by 2, this is M by 2. So what is the resultant of this? What is the resultant? Anybody? M square by 4 plus M square by 4 under root, which is M by root 2. Okay, so M by root 2 is less than M, so it diminishes. So this is true. Magnetic moment does not change is definitely false. Magnetic moment of B at 0, 0, Z, Z much greater than R increases.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
अगर कोई ऐसे ही मतलब ये लूप अगर सेम प्लेन में होगा तो हम उसको स्केलर वे से ऐड करेंगे और अगर वो दूसरे प्लेन में होगा तब वेक्टर वे से ऐड करेंगे, राइट?
हाँ, स्केलर तरीके से एक प्लेन में हम ऐड कर सकते हैं अगर हम साइंस का ध्यान रखें तो, राइट। सो अभी जैसे कि मान के चलिए कि हमारे पास एक ये लूप है और बिल्कुल इसी एक लूप ये है मान लीजिए, ठीक है, एक ही प्लेन में दोनों लूप रखे हैं और ये ऐसे इसमें करंट जा रहा है I1, इसमें जा रहा है I2, ठीक है। इसके अंदर वाले का एरिया A1 है, बाहर वाले का एरिया A2 है। तो इसका मैग्नेटिक मोमेंट हो गया A1 I1 और बाहर वाले का हो गया A2 I2। लेकिन ये करंट एंटी क्लॉकवाइज है तो पॉजिटिव है और ये नेगेटिव है क्लॉकवाइज, राइट। तो अगर हम इसको पॉजिटिव और इसको नेगेटिव लें तो हम डायरेक्टली ऐड कर सकते हैं विदाउट वेक्टर एडिशन।
ओके ओके गॉट इट।
ठीक है ना। तो तब हमें, क्योंकि पैरेलल वेक्टर्स कैन बी एडेड लाइक नॉर्मल नंबर्स, ओके, विद साइंस, ओके। लेकिन यहाँ पे हमें वेक्टर अलजेब्रा यूज करना पड़ा बिकॉज m like p is also a vector quantity if you remember from the dipole moment of electrical charges, right। तो उसी तरीके से हमने किया तो ये ट्रू है। ये तो इंक्रीज वाला तो सच है ही नहीं, ठीक है, और अनचेंज वाला भी सच नहीं, राइट। so only one answer is correct। An electron is projected with uniform velocity along the axis of a current carrying long solenoid. Which of the following is true? By the way, one thing that you should remember, right? There are two ways for you to find the direction of anything in this chapter. Okay. One way is that when you remember these, formulae, when you remember all these formulae, then you remember that if there is a cross, the resultant is a vector. And
In case of dot product, we get a scalar.
then we don't have to worry at all. But if we have a vector coming out, remember which comes first. Like in this, DL comes first and R comes next, right? And what is their sign conventions? Based on that, you can use the right hand screw rule, okay? And you can find the direction. But in case of electromagnetism, there are two other hand rules also, which are pretty useful at times, which are the Fleming's hand rules, left and right, okay? Have you studied the left and right hand rules?
Yeah, sir.
So even those can be used to find the direction of either the field, force, current, whatever, depending on what the case is. In which case you don't have to remember the curling effect, okay, of the cross product. So an electron is projected with uniform velocity along the axis of a current carrying long solenoid. Okay, so there is a long solenoid which is current carrying like this, and electron is projected. Will electron be accelerated? Will electron follow a circular path? And then there are some other options. What will happen to the electron? Let's just answer that. First, let's find where is the B. Where is the B? In a solenoid, the B will be along the axis, okay, in either direction. We don't know the direction yet, but right, it will be along the axis, right? And electron is also moving along the axis. So the V component, V is parallel to the B. The velocity of the electron is parallel to the magnetic field. And we know from the Lorentz force equation that if they are parallel, then V cross B is 0, right? So there is no force. So it cannot be accelerated. That is untrue. If there is no acceleration, it can't be a circular path. With experience force, no force will be experienced. So we don't even have to worry. The electron will continue to move with uniform velocity along the axis of the solenoid. This is the true option. Okay. Okay, so this question I will skip.
So
Okay.
can you turn the page for a second?
Okay.
Yeah, fine.
Right. So this I will skip. So cyclotron is not in the course this year. Uniform current loop of magnetic moment M is in an arbitrary orientation in an external magnetic field B. The work done to rotate the loop by 30 degrees about an axis perpendicular to its plane. Okay.
Option B.
Option
Second.
B. Why would you say B? See, let's first, in these kind of questions, it's important to draw the question, okay? How would we draw this? There's a circular current loop of magnetic moment M in an arbitrary orientation, okay? So there is a circular loop like this in some arbitrary loop orientation, and there is an M pointing like this, okay? M is perpendicular to this loop. The work done to rotate the loop by 30 degrees along an axis perpendicular to its plane. Okay, so there is a plane. There is an axis like this. And we have rotated the loop like this. Right? What happens to M when we rotate this loop? See, there is a current I and there is an area A. Fine. And there is a magnetic moment. Once we have a magnetic moment, actually we don't have to worry about I and A, because magnetic moment can be used to determine everything. And let's say there is some field like this, B, in any direction. We don't know where it is. Whenever we rotate this loop, M stays where it is, right? So the angle or the relative motion between M and B is not happening. So the answer will be D.
So can you repeat? I don't get it.
Okay. See, there is a current carrying loop, right? So this current carrying loop will have a magnetic moment equal to IA, which is perpendicular to the loop.
Right.
The axis is also perpendicular to the loop like this.
Right.
Now, when I turn this loop a little bit around this axis, does it change does it do anything to the M? It doesn't, right?
Right.
So there is no interaction happening between M and B, right? We have not done any work then, right?
Okay, sir, got it.
So the trick here is the axis is perpendicular to its plane. If I would rotate it like in this axis, then M will rotate and there will be work done. Okay.
Yeah, fine.
The gyromagnetic ratio, you remember the gyromagnetic ratio we just talked about? What is gyromagnetic ratio? Gyromagnetic ratio is magnetic moment of the electron by the angular momentum, which is E by 2m. this is the gyromagnetic ratio. So this has no R in it, right? So it is independent of the orbit. So this is definitely true. Is it negative, positive, right? So actually the electron, it is given as a negative number, right? Because the E is a negative number. Okay, so I can keep it as, sorry, I can put it like this, or I can put it as this. Okay, because m cannot be negative, right? So it is actually a negative number because it is E by 2m, right? So it is negative. It's definitely not positive. And increases with the quantum number n. It does not, because with quantum number n, R changes, and R is not a part of this, right? So it doesn't. So only the first two are true. Let's do this one. Consider a wire carrying a steady current I placed in a uniform magnetic field B perpendicular to its length. Okay. Consider the charges inside the wire. It is known that magnetic forces do no work. This implies that. So what is happening here? There is a conductor carrying I, and there is a field which is perpendicular to it, B, right? And we know magnetic forces do no work, right? Why do they do no work? Can somebody answer that question? It is in itself a question. That do magnetic force do work on a charge? The answer is given. It doesn't do. The question is why they don't do work. Anybody? See, the force is given by Q V by B, V cross B, right?
I think, sir, because they are perpendicular.
So the force that comes out is perpendicular to B, which is fine, but it is also perpendicular to V. And V, the direction of velocity, okay, the direction of velocity is same as direction of displacement, right? So it means that F is perpendicular to displacement, which means it does no work. Okay. So motion of the charges inside the conductor is unaffected by B since they do not absorb energy. Is that true or not? So multiple answers can be true. So we have to go through each option. Motion of charges inside the conductor are not affected. That is not true because they experience a force. Right?
Yeah.
So motion is affected, but work is not done by that motion, right? So motion can be changed without doing work, right? We know the centripetal force is a classical example, right? So this is not true. Because there is a force, the motion is affected. Some charges inside the wire move to the surface as a result of B. Okay, is that true or false?
I don't think so. It's true.
See, okay, just think about this wire, right? I have drawn it as a line, but let's think of it as a cylinder for now. Okay, because then we can see the